Hey everyone, since we're pretty much done with our course so far, it's time for a refresher on almost everything we did in this course. I'm calling this a test, but you should think of it more as a refresher to see how much you learned about Python and see how much you know. And of course, it's okay if you don't remember everything. Nobody remembers everything the first time they do a Python course. You just have to practice a lot. In this video, you don't have to actually think about the answers if you don't want, and you don't actually have to type any code. This is just to refresh you, and so that you can see the answers and just get a really quick refresher course on how to do everything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a test where you write stuff out and then check your answer, but if you do, then just make sure you pause the video before I answer each question. Alright, so let's get on with this little refresher test. There will be multiple choice questions, there will be coding challenges, so you can actually just type code in your code editor if you want, or just think about it. And like I said, it's okay if you don't get every question right, so let's get started. So the first question is, what is a variable? Is it a sequence of characters, a container that holds a value, a data type, or another word for a Python module? It is a container that holds a value. It's not a data type. Data types are what variables hold. They hold values that are data types, but variables themselves are not data types. Which answers below are data types? Variables, lists, strings, functions, or all of the above? Lists and strings are data types. Functions and variables are not. So here I want you to create 4 variables. One is a string, one is an integer, one is a boolean, and one is a float. Alright, here I have my str is equal to hello world. My int is equal to 1234, my bool is equal to false, and my float is 12.34. Of course, these don't have to be the same values. As long as they are floats and booleans and strings, it is okay. Which of the following is string formatting, which is concatenation, and which is repetition? A is formatting with f-string formatting. B is string repetition using the multiplication operator. C is also formatting but using %string formatting. And D is concatenation using the plus operator. Which of the following are forms of control flow? Conditional statements, for loops, while loops, lists, function or method calls, exception handling, or with statements? All of them except for lists are forms of control flow. If you remember, we briefly went over with statements, which are just a safer way to open files. Write an if statement. If my bool is false, then print no, and if it's true, then print yes. There are many ways to write this. I said if my bool, then print yes, else print no. So you could have done if my bool is false, then print yes, or else, or whatever. As long as you get the job done, it is good. But this is probably the shortest and most readable way. Which of the following does not return a Boolean value? So assuming x is 10 and y is 20, which of these does not return a Boolean value? The answer would be B, because B does not return a Boolean value. Instead, you're just setting x to y. Remember, you have to use the double equal sign to actually compare things. So using a single equal sign would set a variable. What will print if x is 10 and y is 20 and I print x is equal to y? Would it be true, false, or an error? It would be false, because in the print statement we are comparing x and y, and that statement is not true, so it's false. What does the dot capitalized string method do? A, does it make all letters uppercase? B, it makes the first letter of each word in the string uppercase? Or C, it makes the first letter in the string uppercase? The answer is C. The dot capitalize method only makes the first letter in the string uppercase. What does the dot upper string method do? Does it make the entire string uppercase? Does it make the first letter of each word uppercase? Or does it make the first letter in the entire string uppercase? It makes the entire string uppercase. Same for lower here. Does it make it all lower? Does it make every first letter lower? Or does it make the string's first letter lowercase? It makes the entire string lowercase. So what kinds of values do the 3 methods I just went over return? Do they return booleans, integers, strings, or floats? They all return strings. What does the isNumeric string method do? Assign a number to each letter, check if the string has any numbers, or checks if the string only has numbers. It checks if the string only has numbers. What does isAlpha do? Does it assign a letter to each number? Does it check if the string only has letters? Or does it check if the string has any letters? It checks if the string only has letters. What kinds of values do those two methods return? Do they return booleans, strings, integers, or floats? They return booleans, which means if the string is alpha, then it returns true. If it's not, it's false. Similarly with isNumeric, if it's only numbers, then it returns true. If not, it's false. What are loops? Here there are multiple correct answers. A form of control flow, a way to repeat code, a form of conditional statements, or a way to write better code. C is the only one we will not select. A, it is definitely a form of control flow. Loops just control the flow of our program very well. They can just repeat code or do whatever we're wanting them to do. With B, they're also a way to repeat code. And D, they are a way to write better code, because if you just repeat code and just keep copying and pasting code, that's not a good idea. So if you write a loop, you do write better code. What is a while loop? Is it a loop that iterates through something? Is it a loop that repeats 10 times? Is it a loop that stops when a statement is true? Or is it a loop that stops when a statement is false? It's a loop that stops when a statement becomes false. So for example, if I said while variable is equal to 1, and we went through the while loop, and then eventually it changed to 2, it would stop because that statement would be false. What is a for loop? Does it iterate through something? Does it repeat 10 times? Does it stop when a statement is true? Or does it stop when a statement is false? It's a loop that iterates through something, for example, a list or tuple, or anything that you can iterate through. Use a while loop to print hello world 10 times. You'll set a counter variable, mine is called x, and I say while x is not 10, we will print hello world, and each time we will increment x by 1. Now let's use a for loop to do the exact same thing. This is much easier with a for loop. We just simply repeat it 10 times by iterating through the range, so range 10, so it'll repeat 10 times, and we'll just print hello world each time. Print only the second item in my list. We'll index it with 1, since indices start at 0. Extract 2, 3, 4 from my list. We will index from index 1 up to, not including 4, so that would be 2, 3, and 4. Extract every item from my list except for the first item. Here we will index 1 onward, which is 2, and then everything else after that. Copy the contents of my list to a new list called mylist2. So just copy the contents of it into a new list. Here we'll just put a colon here to copy every single item and put it in list 2. Extract 1, 3, 5, so every other item from my list. Here we'll put 2 colons to add the parameter for the step of 2, so we will go by a step of 2 starting at 0 and just going until the list is over by a step of 2. Now only extract 2 and 4 from my list, which is still every other number but starting at a different point. Here we'll index starting at 1, go until the list is over with a step of 2. Extract world from my str. We'll index from index 7 up to but not including 12. So we'll start at W, which is index 7, and then we will stop before we get to 12, which is the exclamation point. Get a user's input and store it in a variable called answer. Here we'll just do answer is equal to the returned value of the input function. Check if the user entered yes or no with this input statement. We'll set answer equal to input, and we'll add the dot lower method to make sure that they don't type yes with a capital Y or anything. Then we do if answer is yes. You could just say you said yes, for example. If it's no, you can say you said no. And if it's not, meaning else, then you said neither. Of course, you could have said anything in these print statements, and for a lot of these code examples, there could have been different ways to write these, and that's just how it is in programming. There's many different ways to do things. Split my str into 2 words, and each word will be an item in a list. We use the dot split method to change it to a list, so we've assigned my str to the new splitted list. Now set x to the first word and y to the second word in my str. We'll just unpack x and y, because we know that there will only be 2 items in this list, so we will split it, and x will be the first one, y will be the second. Join each item in this list into one string. We will use the .join method, and we will pass in my list, and we will join them with a space. Print the index of world in my str. Remember, when indexing an entire word, it's just the first letter of that word that is the index. To do this, we'll just use the .find method, and we will find world, and this will print the index of W. Replace hello with hi in my str. You can use the string method .replace, pass in what you're replacing, and then pass in what you're replacing it with. Print each letter in my str. We can use a for loop to do this. For every character in my str, we'll just print the character. Print each item in my list. Similarly, with the last example, we printed every item by using a for loop. Now I want you to tell me the similarity and difference between tuples and lists. You should choose the best answer out of these. Both are iterables, but lists are immutable, while tuples aren't. Both can contain any data type. Tuples can't be edited, but lists can. Or both are iterables that can contain any data type. While B and C are true, A is the best answer. Both are iterable, but lists are mutable, while tuples aren't, and they can both contain any data type. How are dictionaries different from lists? A, dictionaries can't be edited. B, dictionaries contain value-key pairs. C, dictionaries contain key-value pairs. It's C, they contain key-value pairs. Create a dictionary with the following criteria. Make a dictionary that has key-value pairs, and the keys are string versions of numbers. So for example, 1 would be O-N-E, and the values would be the integer version. So 1 would be paired with the integer 1. This should go up to 4. Okay, here we are with 1, 2, 3, and 4 with their respective integers. Print 5 by indexing this 2D list. We'll use index 2 for the third item in the list, and then the first item inside that list. So 2 and then 0. What are functions? Are they blocks of repeated code, a type of list, blocks of reusable code, or any block of code in Python? They are a block of reusable code. Define a function that prints hello world. We'll use def, myfunc, and then we will just print hello world. Call your function 3 times. We'll just say myfunc 3 times and call it with the parentheses. Now define a function that greets a person by the name passed into a parameter. So there will be one parameter called name, and you'll use that to print the person's name when passed in. So just use the exact same example as before, but pass in name as a parameter, and then change this string to f-string formatting so you can say hello and then the name they pass in. Now add a parameter for the greeting instead of just hello, so make it so that you can choose what greeting it is, so maybe hi or hello or how are you doing. Just add another parameter and add another variable in the string. Now make it so you can greet as many people as specified. And here's a hint, use args. You're going to put a star in front of names, and for every name in the args, then you will print the greeting and then the name. So in this example, there can only be one kind of greeting, but there can be as many names as you want. So it'll print, for example, hello John, hello Alice, and however many people you've passed in. Unpack the numbers in numbers list into the add function's parameters. We'll just type add and then star numbers to unpack numbers into the function's parameters. Create a greet function with quarks to match the function call below. So this greet function, John is equal to hi and Alice is hello, should return hi John and hello Alice. We'll define greet with quarks. For every name in all of the keys of quarks, we will print the greeting by referencing the greeting in the quarks dictionary with name, since that's a key, and then we'll just print name after that in the same print statement. And we can just call it below like we did before. John is hi and Alice is hello, and that should say hi John and hello Alice. Define a divide function that divides two parameters. Handle a possible zero division error. So here we'll define divide, pass in two parameters. We'll try to return the divided value of num1 and num2, but if you get a zero division error, then just return can't divide by 0. Create a human class with the attributes name and age, and then use an init function to assign them when passed in during object creation. Class human, and then we'll define init. We'll pass in self, name, and age, and we'll just set self.age equal to age and self.name equal to name. Now add two functions to the human class that are move and eat, and they'll just print move and eat respectively. Def move self, print move, and then def eat self, print eat. Now make an animal parent class with a walk function. Then make dog and cat child classes that have private functions, bark and meow. So dog and cat should inherit animal and be able to use the walk method, but dog has its own bark method and cat has its own meow method. We'll define the parent class animal, we'll define walk, and print walked. Then in the dog class, we will make sure to put animal in parentheses so that it inherits from animal, and we can create the function, and same with cat. Initialize this class and then change their age after you initialize it. Below the code, we'll just say my human is equal to a new human, his name is John, and his age is 20. Then below that, we'll just change his age to 21 by saying my human.age is equal to 21. Import OS and then import random, but change random's object name to R. Importing OS is simple as just saying import OS, but then we'll use the as keyword to change the name of random for this program. What are Python modules? Choose two best answers. Another word for a Python file, code that you can reuse by importing it, a folder containing Python files, or another word for functions. They are both A and B. They are another word for a Python file, and they're also code you can reuse by importing it. What are Python packages? Another word for a Python module, code you can reuse by importing, a folder containing related Python modules, or another word for functions. B and C, it's code that you can reuse by importing, and it's also a folder containing related modules. What is pip? A place to find Python packages, Python's nickname, a program to install Python packages, or a Python module. It is a program that installs Python packages. What is PyPy? A place to find Python packages, Python's nickname, a program to install Python packages, or a Python module. It is a website that you can find Python packages. There is a file called example.txt. Open that file and print what's inside of it. With this, we'll just say with open example.txt, and we'll use the read mode we'll set that to the variable file, and then we'll set contents equal to the return value of file.read, and then we'll just print contents after that. What are magic methods? A. Class functions that can change the way Python behaves when certain operations are done to an object. B. Functions that change the way Python behaves when you create a new Python object. Or C. Functions that change how Python behaves when you write a class. It is A. Class functions that change the way Python behaves when certain operations are done to an object, like when you try to add objects together, or subtract them, or compare them with comparison operators, and that type of thing. Start a Python virtual environment and install a module inside it. In our terminal, we will type python3-m venv and then whatever the name is. In this case, it's myenv. Then we will source myenv bin activate to activate the virtual environment, and then we can just install anything we want, and I'll install requests.